Okay, good day everybody. How you all doing? October 16th, 2025. Actually, we are going to be just examining some parts of the graph that you must be aware of. And for example, of course, I was just highlighting in the corner here the different graphs that we're going to go more in detail. If you look carefully, wherever this graph cuts on the x-axis, these are being referred to as the x-intercepts. X-intercept, so this is a negative x-intercept. There's a positive x-intercept. Please note that. And of course, where it cuts on the y-axis is the y-intercept. Where the graph turns right here, where it turns, that's the vertex. So please note that, right? And if you look carefully, in this system here, the y-axis is the line of symmetry. The y-axis on this graph is the line of symmetry, as well as, if you look carefully, this graph, if you observe carefully, this graph is opening upwards, right? It's opening upwards, is concave up, and any graph that is opening upwards has a positive A value, right? If you can recall, we have the general quadratic equation, and they're making reference to this A here. So once this A is positive, the graph is going to open upwards, right? And the vertex, of course, as I was highlighting not too long ago, is the lower point. And this graph has a maximum point, a minimum point, sorry, as a minimum point because it's opening upwards. So once the graph is opening upwards, a parabola is opening upwards, it always has a minimum value at the minimum point. So please note that. Good. The second one now, this graph, of course, I would have identified the x-intercepts on the x-axis, right? On the x-axis, those are the x-intercepts, right? You know that you have one here and one here, and as well, this graph is cutting on the y-axis. So this is the this is the y-intercept you're seeing here, and the arrows are there to show you where they are. If you look carefully now, this graph has its line of symmetry right here, but it's not on the y-axis. So I'm happy that this one was shifted a bit, so you can see that this is not always the y-axis is going to be the axis of symmetry, but it can move and become either 0, 1, 2, all dependent on the x-axis. With this graph, it is opening downwards, if you look carefully, and because it's opening downwards, it's concave down, right? It's concave down, right? So please know that it's concave down. And it has a negative A value. So any graph that has a negative A value would be in this, any parabola that has a negative A value would be in this position, inverted. If you invert the first one, you're going to get the second one, and that's because the A value is negative, right? And the vertex is the highest point in a negative A value graph. Please note that. And or it has a maximum point. So if you want to find the maximum value, it can be found here, the maximum points. So please note what's going on here. Good. What we're going to attempt to do now is try a system looking like this here and see what happens. So I'm going to erase all of this now. You can always locate it back and refresh yourself until you know where the intercepts are. And this is your axis of symmetry. I can label this. This is your axis of symmetry. Good. This is your axis of symmetry. And the y-axis, of course, is your axis of symmetry. And remember that it wouldn't always be, the y-axis will not always be an axis of symmetry. If you try to look at these two here, is the y-axis, and it is somewhere that, let us say, x equal to 2. Put it in that way, right? So please note what has happened there. I'm going to take down all of this. I'm going to put the system of this sort. But I hope you're having a great day so far, and that you are practicing the work, you're doing what you got to do in terms of strengthening your maths. If you're familiar with what you're not familiar with, and you check out my YouTube channel. All you got to do is type in GG Math Nation, and you're going to be good to go. Right? So let's go and prepare a graph here. Well, first of all, is y is equal to negative x squared good. And you are being asked to put this on the graph, so we're going to put the graph somewhere here. Somewhere here. Good. We're going to count in twos. Over here 2, negative 2, negative 4, call this negative 6, the most, we're going to call this 2, 4, call this negative 2, and of course this is the y-axis, this is the y-axis, right? X-axis. Now let's go and see what we can extract. Now in this case here, if you look at this exercise, this graph could be dealt with several ways, but I'm going to do it one way where we can get the intercepts and plot. So in other words, the first thing we can possibly do is say when x equal to 0, y be equal to negative 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 8. So y be equal to what? Negative 8. So in other words, you're going to have the points 0 and negative 8. So y-intercept. And from there, now we're going to go over here and take this guy. Get another color marker. Have negative x squared minus 2x minus that's plus 8 equal to 0. This is the plus 8 plus. Sorry about that, my bad. Good. As you're making mistakes along the way, you can correct it before the time runs out. Yeah, but the aim is to minimize mistakes. Now from here now, because the negative x squared graph, and we know that, what we can possibly do is multiply this whole thing by negative 1. Right, multiply by negative 1, so this is going to become what? X squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to 0. Yeah, now it is net minus 8 because we're changing up things. And from there, we're going to do the shortest possible route to see what's going on. And we're going to have, put the x here, 2. And when you multiply them, you get 8. When you add them, you get 2. that is something familiar to you. That's going to be 4 on negative 2, 4 times negative 2. Doesn't matter between right first. And that's basically it so far. So we can conclude and say what? X equal to 2 and x equal to negative 4. So this, the point that we're going to be plotting what will be what? 2, 0 and negative 4, 0. Good. So we're going to plot these points and see what our graph is going to look like. Good. So when we're going to plot these points now, we're going to get what? 2, 0. Get 2, 0 and negative 4, 0. The point we found just now is what? So that's going to be 1 and negative 1 and negative 8. 1 and negative 8. That's going to be somewhere here. From there, 1 and 8. 1 and 8, or 0 and 8. Right? Let's take our time and go through this process. And x is 0. Okay, and get 0 and 8. This graph is going to come through here. We're going to have something looking like this here. Or if you use negative 1 and if I didn't use 0 and I use negative 1, you have a negative 1 here. Negative 1 will be matching up with 9. Please know that. You can check it out, and from there you can plot this graph and you're going to end up getting something looking like this here. See that? And this here. And we have our line of symmetry. Let me take my time and get this in. Yeah. And then I can draw a line of symmetry so that you see where it exists. Because it's passing through negative 1. Passing through negative 1. And you also put it in broken line for differentiation purpose. Good. And basically, that's what you're going to get, right? So, when you use 0, you're going to get 8. When you use negative 1, you're going to get 9. And this is what basically the negative x squared graph looks like. This is the graph for, this is the graph for y is equal to negative x squared minus 2x plus 8. So, just make sure you understand that you have to find y-intercept, you have to find the x-intercepts. Then, of course, you could choose 0, 1, or negative 2, negative 1, 0, I mean, negative 2, negative 1, 0. Plug it into here, and you could at least know where it's cutting on the x on the y-axis to get your y-intercept, and where your axis of symmetry exists. Also, you could have used x equal to negative b over 2a, and plug in your values to find your axis of symmetry. And b is what? B is negative 2. So you'd have minus negative 2 over 2 times, what is that? A, negative 1. So you'd have got 2 divided by negative 1. It gives you negative 1. And we have the negative 1 here, and we use that to substitute into y to know where the highest point or the maximum point exists, where the graph is going to be turning. So please note what is happening here. Good. Thank you very much for watching my video. God bless you. Have a great day. And we will certainly continue along this line where graphs are concerned. Take care. See you later.